We're having trouble with the TV.
Yes, you're right.
Yes.
So, let's go ahead and start. We're going to left, since we're gonna start left to right with the questions. So any of you stand up.
You better react to the.
We will. So we just try and talk and hold the mic. So. There we go.
Be here tonight to take a few minutes of your time. My name is Eddie Christensen. My wife Marcy and I have moved here for about 7 years ago, and we've decided that we like it enough that we plan to stay here the rest of our time. We have 4 kids and 8 grandchildren. I've been in law enforcement as a police officer for over 30 years. Currently work at Snow College as an officer. I have enjoyed the opportunity throughout my career to interact with many different people. There are times that interaction is challenging, but most of the time, interaction is positive. We have good interaction mixed with sometimes it's a little bit harder. During my law enforcement career, I've learned how to listen and give people a chance to talk. Listening and gathering information helps me make the best decision I can. Something I enjoy is interacting with college students. My hope is to help students be successful in whatever they do. And along that lines, I hope that if I'm chosen as a city council member, that I can do the same thing for Ephraim and the citizens to be successful in all that we do and all that the citizens do. Thank you.
I didn't make any. So my name is Mary. My name is Mary Whitmer. I have lived in 17 years. For 25 years, part of the time while I was here, I ran a business in Evanston. Chevron gas station with the top line and car wash. And during that time, I learned how to deal with people, how to problem solve, how to get the best deals on the vendors, and how to mostly, I think my best skill during that time was people, being around people and being able to help comfortable, to be genuine. And one of my greatest faults is that I get people to doubt and try to see the best. And then when they don't do what I think they should have done, then I get being. But in the beginning, I try to do that, give the best, the benefit out to people. I think I'm a big people person. I'm a listen. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm honored to be here tonight as one of the several candidates. My husband and I both grew up in small towns in Utah, and Ephraim has become home to us. We've raised our 4 children here and have loved the sense of belonging. Our ancestors made Sandy Valley home long before we moved here, so it's great to come back to our roots. I've called Ephraim home since 2006, and over the years, I've had the privilege of serving on community councils, volunteering, and teaching different programs that help connect residents with our shared heritage. I've also attended city council meetings regularly for more than 2 years because I care deeply about staying informed and engaged. My slogan is "Our future is our heritage." And I truly believe that by honoring where we've come from, we can build a stronger, more informed future. I care about the people who live here and I'm committed to making sure every voice is heard and valued. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Anna Johnson, and while I may be the youngest person seeking appointment to this position, I believe that I have unique strengths that will be a benefit to Ephraim. I plan, as a city council member, to involve in voting and in to help ensure the future of our city. I also plan to use my degree in professional sales to increase communication between our city council and our community, as well as my degree in interior design and industry experience to be a bridge and a liaison between developers and our community to create a plan for sustainable growth that preserves our way of life. I've set a legacy of service throughout my life, and I hope to continue that as a member of the city council. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you for this opportunity to gather with you, and I'm so grateful that I'm part of a wide variety of voices that are both interested in this as well. I grew up in Ephraim. My family moved here when I was 4. And I love my experience here. I've worked in seminaries and institutes for 38 years, recently retired, and I've had experience as a teacher as well as an administrator. I've had educational opportunities, and one of my studies took me to study the Ephraim Elementary School and the impact that Anglo-American, Mexican-American parents have on their children's education. I wrote a doctorate degree. Thesis focused on that. It was very intriguing to see how those two communities work together and also didn't work together. I'm grateful for my family. My family has a great heritage here in Ephraim. My wife's family was part of the original settlers, and as part of that, we're buried in the Penwood Cemetery as well as here. And so we're just grateful for being here. I returned to Ephraim about 11 years ago, but I've been Ephraim for 15 years. My family's still here, so this is yeah, plots in the cemetery.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. My name is Lauren Feck. I appreciate the opportunity to be with these folks who are going to be speaking this day. I've been Ephraim resident for a long, long time. I enjoy living here. I really appreciate the city in which we have. It's a great place to live. And my family and I have enjoyed staying here. And my boys have a great desire to come back. I hope that my experience in service in the town with my business background will be a great asset to the council and also to be a representative people as I speak for them here in these council meetings. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay. Left to right. Okay, Lauren, this is for you.
Back up again, Lloyd?
Yeah.
All right.
How would you suggest the city mitigate the effects of growth?
I know growth is a great topic and I know that's one that we're facing a lot. I know that we have to be able to balance growth. That we have to be able to have the assets to encourage growth. Growth can't be stopped, we know that. But it can be balanced with the assets which we have. I'm thinking water and sewer mainly. Those things really are the backbone of bringing growth into town. If we don't have the water, we can't support water. I think growth can be good in the fact that it brings money into our city. Growth for me helps my business out as more people come in. I know there's controversy about how fast we need to grow and can we stay ahead. These are some of the topics that we really do need to face as more and more people move into our valley, move into our town.
Okay, just stand up and. Yours.
Will YouTube be able to hear them? Yes.
Quiet. Okay, this conversation about. It's another food. Several years ago, my dad moved here, had a job at college, and after we rented for about 4 years. Got a job at some college, he's been working here for 4 years. And talked this week about how it's so difficult to get into cost. And to be honest with you, they're looking at possibly moving outside of Eastern Connecticut for homes and pay as equal to what it is here. There is a discouragement that I'm thinking about this. I do think the city council has to address that issue. Part of it might be trying to find a lower house, but also part of it is finding opportunities to create jobs or have business come in that creates jobs that pay better so they can afford the house. My daughter-in-law every day checks that listing houses and checks the loan to see how much money they can take, what they're getting, what loan they can get. Still aren't. So this is an issue that is really a challenge for young families that are and think it's a wrestle that we have to wrestle with. There's an easy answer, but I do think that we have to build homes and like the flex home that you were talking about, but also to create jobs and find new opportunities for jobs to come here, manufacturing and other types, so that we can provide work for them so they can have a lot of like we have. Thank you. Thank you.
And what are your thoughts on affordable?
Affordable housing is extremely important to me. As someone who is 23 years old, I want to buy a house. And like, just saying, it's not a very attainable thing, especially to those of us who are young, who are recently graduated or other things like that. So my thoughts are that we need to look into R2 zoning, not necessarily R3. That's a big jump from R1. And methods of affordable housing like structural insulated panels, pre-manufactured housing, things like that, that lower the costs up front for our buyers and for our builders so that we can get housing put in quicker, easier, and more affordably so that we can lower those housing prices and have people stay here.
Tyra, is more housing necessary?
That's a double-edged sword. We all know it. Is more housing needed? Yes, because I have kids that are in that age bracket that are trying to find homes. My son's purchasing a home in East right now that may have been built in the late 1800s, but he can get it. So starter homes are very, very difficult. I do think that the new zoning that we have made for the smaller lots may mitigate some of the issues. But I know that there's always something out there that can help other people get into homes. I'm not sure how much we do with I know up in Mount Pleasant, they have put your hours in and help build the. I don't know how many programs are here in the firm that can do that, but that is a way to build equity instantly for homeowners. That gives them the opportunity to do that. But most of the time, when you look at a community that has the growth that we have, we're always going to be. Whether we do that slowly or quickly, that's really up to the whole surrounding province. So I think that we're going to have growth, whether people want it or not, but I think we can have smart. I think we're on the right track of doing that, making sure that everybody has an opportunity to buy what they can so that they can get into what they want by affording what they need. So I think Ephraim City is on the right track. Thanks.
Barry, what are the pros and cons to higher density housing?
Well, the cons, I'll start with that. The cons are having so many people close together, and I don't know how to explain my feelings. When you have a lot of people in a really close area, there tends to be what's the word? Contention. So when you put people right on top of each other, that could cause issues that way. The pros are you get more people to have a place to live. And I think that affordable housing is extremely important. And so if that's the only way they can do it, I'm not sure what you mean by high density. Are you talking about condos like a big apartment building, or are you talking about duplexes? And not sure exactly what high density have in mind for the question. But I think that it's a good thing to provide housing or to have housing. Problem is having too many that help each other, having that be. Thank you.
Is Ephraim going too fast, too slow, or about right?
Well, I have to be careful because I told you we moved here 7 years ago and we're glad to be here and you let us in. But it's probably going just right. I would say, it's been said that growth is happening and growth is coming. And so how do we manage it? How does the city and the different departments work together to keep it on that sustained, steady growth? It's gonna be here, it's coming, and it's a good thing. There's many opportunities, whether it's people, whether it's homes, whether it's businesses, by growth. It gives us more opportunities as citizens in the community. So I believe that we're probably on the right path. You can't stop it, and you don't want it just boom because of the infrastructure and the things, but a little growth and the steady growth is a good thing for, I believe, the city, for us, and for the businesses, and for the college, those opportunities. So thank you.
Stay right there, Eddie.
Oh, that's right.
Eddie, we're gonna talk about relationships, not personal relationships, but relationships with other entities within the valley, within the state and federally. So your question, how do you view the relationship between Manti and Ephraim?
I'll tell you this, what I see is the relationship between Manti and Ephraim is from a law enforcement point of view. And in that aspect, I see that there's a good relationship, because I have worked with the different deputies. They've helped us and we've helped them. And so as we go into Manti, or they come and help us, I see that the people that I'm interacting with and working with, not a lot, but when needed, that there's a good relationship, and that we support each other, and we want to be successful. In law enforcement, that's what you make sure that everybody is good. And if you can help, you help. Doesn't matter where it's at or the location. So that's how I see things, that there is a good relationship, and I see it through the eyes of law enforcement. Thank you.
Thank you. Mary,
Yes.
how would you describe the relationship between Ephraim and our federal delegation of congressmen and senators?
Congressman Burgess?
Yes, Burgess Owens.
Burgess, yes. He's the only one I'm familiar with, because I've had some interaction with him, but I've also been, through your interactions. Anyway, and there's, a good relationship with him. He gets us things, and he recognizes his success level, I would say. But he understands the small town mentality of how we're trying to grow and how we're trying to improve that. And the fact that he knows Ephraim and he cares about Ephraim, that's pretty important. And you suggest me about federal?
Federal, senators, or two federal senators.
Or just so I can't speak for them. I think he's a good man, and I think he's doing a good job for us.
Thank you. Tyra? Tyra, describe the relationship between Ephraim and Sanpete County.
I think that a lot of the towns within Sanpete County have their pride of their location, right? And I think that we all work together in our different aspects. Everyone supports us with the Scandinavian Days. Everyone supports Mount Pleasant for July 4th. Everyone supports, we have all of our different festivals and different activities that each town just lovingly puts on for all of us. And I think that we all work together to do those things. There is a lot of community support when someone's down. You can call another town, you can put things out, and everyone's willing to help. I know we like to have all our rivalries between our South Sanpete school districts, but it's a fun rivalry. Where I come from, not such a fun rivalry. We had police on both sides of the football field. We weren't allowed to cross the lines because it just got crazy enough. So I know what it's like to have a community that, will fight in front of your face and say, how dare you be from North Sanpete or South Sanpete. But at the end of the day, we're still friends and we still get along. And so I think that our relationship to other cities and towns within San Pete is a good relationship. Sometimes we can all work on different things and make them better, but that's life. We can all be better at something. So I would say that our relationship with other cities and towns within the county are great. Thanks.
Thank you. And what is Ephraim's role with community organizations?
In regards to the county or in regards to our own city?
Community organizations.
I just want to clarify one more time, like our city's community organizations to our community.
Community organizations.
All right, just want to clarify. I believe that our community organizations do so much for us. My favorite experience every single year is volunteering with our rec department to help put on Scandinavian Days, which is something that I've done since I was a member of the Miss Cooper Rugby in 2019. And I love the feeling of community that festival gives. That is one of my very favorite community organizations. And I feel like we have so many excellent organizations, including the DEP and the Greenery Arts and so many other wonderful organizations that work to benefit our city. And if we can work together, especially involving them with our city council to make a solidified effort in serving our community, we'll be able to do even more.
Thank you. Troy? How do you view the relationship between the Utah State Legislature and Ephraim?
I find it quite interesting, knowing Snow College and Eton both have issues that play in the Utah State Legislature. Many of the decisions that are made impact us. And I know that there are lobbying that takes place on both sides of the aisle, but I was impressed when Owens, I think it was it Owens that came speaking to us about how the city council. You can tell that they are thinking about our community. Yeah, their law, they create this policy that we're following today is part of that. We have to lobby and create relationships with them to be able to promote issues that are important to us, like we were talking about with the energy and power concerns we have about that, as well as growth, those other issues, as well as Snow College. The decisions made about Snow College impact as well. So I would say that they're aware of us. We have to work with them, lobby them to promote issues that are important to us. But at the same time, they're thinking of us, and especially those that represent us, are trying to represent us to a greater world.
Thank you. Lauren, sure. Describe the relationship between Ephraim City and Snow College.
Well, it's a symbiotic relationship. I mean, the two of them have to work together because of the large group, which we bring in every year from Snow College, and the assets the city has, which supply Snow College to function. I really think we have a good relationship. There are many here, okay, who have either worked for or have their spouse that work for Snow College, okay, and they work well together. They combine to do activities. They combine and share, like our baseball diamonds, right? We use their stuff. We use their pool, the basketball courts and facilities. And so we as Ephraim citizens really have a great benefit of the college being here. And so they give a lot, city gives a lot, very well.
Thank you.
My turn.
You should have just stayed up there.
By the time we're done, we'll have.
I know.
Lauren, how do Ephraim's property taxes and utility rates compare to those of neighboring cities? Should they be higher, lower, or about the same, and why?
You know, I haven't been to the other cities to know, so I can't tell you dollar for dollar what it costs. But as long as as long as there's harmony between, everybody cares about the cost of living in one city or another. There's no doubt about that. We all just, money's tight all the time. And so, I know that some, like, even if we go into impact fees, our impact fees could be higher for people to move into than other communities around. But as long as our cost between the city covering our costs, making sure that we can deliver water, power, sewer, garbage, okay? That we can cover our costs within the city and still hold it down enough to let people save every dollar they can. That's a huge, huge factor for the individuals here in town. Did I cover it? What other, I didn't hear, tell me the rest of it, Marty.
Should they be higher, lower, about the same, I think?
Yeah, I mean, that's not for me to say. I mean, everybody in this room would say we gotta have lower costs, right? But if we can't cover what we're charging, what it takes to run the facilities within Ephraim City, we can't go lower. And so, as a business standpoint, you have to look at it from that point.
Troy, what are your top budget priorities?
It's a great question. When we're looking at the city and the city's needs. We're grateful for the role that our police department and our fire takes care of those needs that we have. We're grateful for the fact that we have the city itself and the municipality that takes place here. Water is always an important issue. Our power is definitely an important issue. Sewer, those public needs have to be taken care of for a public to take place as well. But I think also we have to look at some recreation challenges as well. As a child growing up, I could just walk 2 blocks west of town and swim in a frog pond and catch frogs and pollywogs, and I was happy. I don't know if that works today with the skate park was actually a wonderful thing, I think, for that group. So I think we have to balance not only our needs, but also some recreational opportunities so that as we grow, we also are taking care of our needs, but we also have some wants available.
How do you balance funding between essential services like roads and water and quality of life projects like parks and trails?
Looking at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, we understand the needs of people as individuals. They have to first have addressed food, water, air, shelter, safety, right? That's the bottom of the pyramid. And if you don't have roads that work, you're not going to be safe driving in your car to Walmart or wherever you're going. And ensuring that we have clean water. So a high priority, we're not going to have safe or healthy citizens to enjoy those parks or other recreation facilities if we aren't first addressing those absolutely essential needs. And then after that, that's when we can get up on that pyramid, take a little step up and go up to the enjoyment, the fun things about Ephraim, the riding your ATV into the mountains kind of things. And so that has to come second.
How would you evaluate whether a proposed capital project is a good investment for the city?
Capital projects always have to be ranked, whether it's your pet project or someone else's pet project. You have to look at what's the best thing for everyone. They can be anything from, we're adding new features to recreation ideas to we need new things built onto the city building. So some of them can be very expensive, like HVAC comes out of nowhere and that gets very pricey. And it's something that has to be addressed because we don't want people to freeze and we don't want them to roast in the summer. Versus putting in a new trail or improving some type of recreation in the city, it may have to come down the line. Priorities can change when emergencies happen. And so you have to be able to take a step back and look at the good of the whole. Not just say, well, no, we are doing this come Hades or high water, But, you know, you have to just take a step back and you have to look at those capital improvements as what should happen, what's best for the city, what's best for the residents, and not just stick to your pet project and saying, well, no, but I have to have this. So always take that step back and look at what capital best.
What do you think the tax burden of Ephraim residents is in comparison to other communities?
Ooh, big question. I really don't know that. I know that our property taxes keep going up, but we also have greater needs for police, fire, and that has a big impact on them. Compared to other cities, I honestly can't answer that. I don't know what they charge. I have a really good friend that I visit with often, and she complains about taxes, and she complains about the utilities and things that, and I tell her what we're paying, she's like, oh. So, I guess better than Manheim, but I honestly, I don't have a good answer.
What do you think about general obligation bonds, voter approved bonds to fund public projects?
Wow. That's what I think. Read the question again.
What do you think about, what do you think about general obligation bonds, which are voter approved bonds to fund public projects?
I think that what you have to do when you have those kind of voter approval on is you have to. You give the public a chance to vote, and to have their say as you present all sides of the project, whatever you're wanting to build or move forward with, then you've got to get the information out to the public so they know what is happening. So they know what they're voting on. So they know what they're spending their money on. And you have to give them that right and that choice to make that decision. You educate the public, give them the information, the good things, the things that are on the other hand, the things that maybe aren't so good, and let the public make that decision through voting. And then when they vote, you say, great, you passed it, great, you didn't. That is their choice. So I think it comes down to giving education, information, and then let the community, let the citizens decide. Thank you. I know we took it back.
Okay. So these questions have to do with economic development. What infrastructure advantages does Ephraim offer? And what could be improved?
So I feel like we have some good opportunities here, you know, some good businesses and that we can go to. But I also know that there's times that my wife and I say, where do we have to go? We have to go to Richfield, or we have to go to Spanish Fork. I never want to go farther than Spanish Fork. You turn around. But so do we have the things we need? Yes, I believe we do. But are there things that I think that we ought to be looking at, and maybe the city council, the city's looking at them already? The things I've thought about are another grocery store, some access to another place to shop that way. Another place to vehicle maintenance. Pretty soon, well, in the next few years, RJ's is probably gonna go away because of the development over there. And I think, where am I gonna take my car? Because that's where I take mine now. And I think we need some more businesses that give this community a variety of things. And how we invite those, how we encourage them to come, that's something that the city would make that decision on. But we can live here and we're happy. My wife and I, we're happy and we can get things here. But sometimes we have to leave, and sometimes we think, man, I wish I had another store to go to, another grocery store, another place for my vehicle, another just basic things, basic needs like that. Thank you.
Mary, what economic challenges are we facing?
I think that our biggest challenge is our growth. Make it. Sustainable, I don't know, that's the right word. I think that, we have the opportunity recently to move to Woken. Because we're. We don't want to live there. Their infrastructure is a mess. The way they let things grow out of control, they probably don't think that. That's a person going in. Anyway, so I think our biggest economic challenge is making things grow crazy. We need to grow. There's no question about that. When we will grow, there's no question about that. But economic, that's going to be the change.
Ira, what are your thoughts on Ephraim's downtown?
I love downtown. I think it's a lot of fun. I think that we have an opportunity for smaller businesses to have a chance because we have smaller units and larger units that are available. And some are held by family for years. And so we might be able to have kind of a shift of some of those businesses, but we have just enough variety in downtown that it makes it fun for the kids to walk around. I know my kids when they're in high school, they like to go, hit a few of the businesses on Main Street and really enjoy it. The Pioneer Park really added to the downtown feel. Really love the improvements that they did Maverick and kind of redid the space. I think it's a great heritage point that kids can learn some of the history of Ephraim. And I just enjoy that it looks like a downtown, a small city downtown, and that feel like it's like a Hallmark Main Street. It's fun to have a Hallmark Main Street. I think it's one of those things that not many cities can say they have. So it's kind of one of those niche main streets that I just love. I love all the new businesses that come in and out because maybe they've grown or maybe they learned something else and so they moved on to somewhere else. But there's always that chance for every business to be able to have that chance on our main street. So.
Right. How do you think the Manti Ephraim Airport impacts the city?
I think that especially with the event that we do in, I believe it's September, that the recreation department puts on to bring more people out to that airport, get people involved in it, that's going to be a very big benefit to our city. It helps right now with our crop dusters and anything else that we need for farming, but as we grow sustainably, I hope, it can be something for people on business or things like that. We can expand as an airport as we expand as a city, and I think that's a definite asset to not just Ephraim, but to our county.
Roy, who are some key stakeholders in our city? How would you suggest involving?
At our community is more diverse now than it used to be. I think that over the years, there are voices that maybe have not been heard, stakeholders that can be participating. For example, I'm thinking about our Hispanic community as one. There are some voices there that I think can be heard there. I think there are voices that can be heard from the different religious organizations. There's several different religious organizations that love to see those communities get together and be able to have more of a common voice together as they work together in a common interest. Snow College definitely has a stakeholder in this, but I think there are populations as like in the employment sector has a voice in what's going on here. I think it's interesting that there are different populations who see Ephraim very differently. And we see that, and it creates because of differences, we kind of see things and creates kind of some different views, and we don't see that we can be united. If you get a common goal, And if you get those stakeholders with a common voice about something that they want to do together, it tends to unify and create a community that's strong. In the early days, the Danes and the Swedes didn't like each other very much in Ephraim. But as they grew together and had those common things creating the community, it created a very strong core that we've been blessed with. And so I think the stakeholders of our business sector, our private sector, our religious groups, our different racial groups, and our educational groups, and have those voices come together and identify common goals, we work together. I think that'll help you become a strong community.
Just a reminder that we stand.
Everything's up.
Do you think Ephraim should offer incentives to bring specific industries to the city?
Well, you're probably gonna hear me, anyway. I don't think that the town should offer incentives. I think that everybody should play on the same rules, the same game. Because you have mega corporations who have lots of money, and sometimes we try to entice them in to bring in their tax dollar. But yet we have to think about the little guy, the people down on Main Street, okay, who are just as important as the big guy. Okay, trying to employ people, give them jobs that can be, keep people here. And so I don't believe that we should offer those to anybody, in my opinion, just on that fact. Oh, God, yeah. Can we turn it up just one time?
Quite so.
Appreciate it.
We're not supposed to say anything. That's why we haven't said anything in response to yours. But since I'm last, I'm just gonna, for all of us, we really appreciate you. Thank you for being here tonight. Thank you for your interest.
In
And,
fact, I will add, I've been thinking, stay up there. I was thinking, why don't we just trade places? They can do city and we'll be done. So,
you've all shown yourselves very respectively very well tonight. It's too bad we can only appoint one. All right, Lauren,
Sir,
should cities be allowed to tell homeowners what they can do on their property?
I think there are rules and regulations that the city has to maintain for safety, for harmony within the community. I think to a fact of bullying, and I don't necessarily think the city's the bullying stage, but I don't think Ephraim should be that place too. I think we came here to listen to the birds, to have the quiet, and those places are outside of this valley. And so I would hope that we would not have to have the city being the big bully and telling us what we can and what we can't do. I mean, the United States, we come here for the land of the free, right? But there are rules that each of us have to live by to make it better, to get along with one another in all aspects in which we try to cohabitate with one another and work as a city and individuals and fellow citizens.
Troy, how much weight should neighbors' opinions be given to land use decisions? This is the land use section, by the way.
So it's interesting, in rural communities where there are fewer people, there seems to be less regulations and less concern with this issue. In larger metropolitan areas, because there are more people and smaller land mass, there are more laws and things that are in place so that they can cohabitate together. Even struggling right now because we're real. Part of that growing change is there are more zoning codes and things that are being put in place because of the growth and because of the population growth as well, that require more legislation, and that is creating some tension with those who are comfortable in this smaller rural community that Ephraim once was. I hope we never get to the point where we get so much with that, that our neighbors' opinions then can dictate a lot of what we do. But it does influence some of the laws that are made and the zoning codes that are put in place so that we can determine what happens where in a community. And I think as I've been watching the city council and listening to what is happening in place in those zoning codes, we're trying to do that away. And those opinions are impacted by what people around think and what they want to have in that area. So they do influence, but I hope they don't prevent the freedom that we've experienced for decades.
Anna, what is missing in Ephraim? Commercial, industrial, housing, something else?
Well, I can say it's certainly not industrial. I know there are a lot of cities who bring in industrial and then they have a lot of problems with their air quality. And that is one of my very favorite things about Ephraim and Sanpete County, because I swear to you, when I cross out of Nephi Canyon and I pass that sign, the air is crisper and fresher. Sometimes I even cry. It's that good. But what I think really is missing is housing, because as a 23-year-old, I want something I'm looking at for sale. Houses that are affordable for someone who's young in their 20s trying to start out their life. And lots are outrageously expensive right now as well, even throughout the county, not just here in Ephraim. That's something that I've been looking at. And something that I would love to see change, just as something I've looked at for myself, would be law about being able to build an ADU on a property before building the main house. Because that's something that could make it a lot more easy for people who are young to be able to afford to buy one of those lots, to build a small, temporary or permanent little ADU, 600 square feet or less, and then be able to, while they're living there, save money to build a real good house.
Ira, should the city allow exceptions to the city code?
That there are exceptions that happen in life. And there are codes that get put in place without city residents knowing. So I don't know if it's necessarily an exception or a grandfather. But the only type of exception that I would think is necessary would be a grandfathering clause, that someone bought the property for this purpose and, they've held it for this many years and all of a sudden we change the zoning on them. So when they go do it, how are they supposed to use the property? So I think that grandfathering, it's kind of built in as an exception, but those are really the biggest exceptions that I would think. Code's written for a reason. We have it because it keeps the peace in a lot of different situations. So I don't think that it's necessarily an exception issue when you grandfather, but to me, that's one of the largest exceptions that I can think of, is when someone needs a grandfather clause so that they can complete what they were doing when they purchased the property 20 years ago, or even 10 years ago, if they've been doing what they've been doing. So the code changed. We have to give them a grandfather, or at least give them the opportunity to fight for that. But exceptions to the code, it would be very, very rare that I would give an exception. Yes.
Mary, what are your thoughts on impact fees?
I don't think we charge enough. Just because I think that it's gonna help with infrastructure. I think that the impact fees should go to that, but it's not what they're used for. But I think they should be the same for everybody, and I think that big corporations or big companies that come in and say, hey, I'm the exception. I shouldn't have to pay that because I'm gonna do this for your city. I just think it's important that we have them and I think that we have to enforce them. Thank you.
Thank you. How do you balance private property rights with public good?
I think if it's, the way I look at it, if it's that we talked about, was mentioned earlier about rules and policies for how to maintain property and things to be on property. But if it's my property, if I follow the ordinances or the policies in the city, I ought to be able to maintain my property and take care of it. Now, the city, I understand that the city has their rights and through the parks and stuff like that. But I think as a city, and you have to be very careful, especially in a small community like this, that you're thinking about the individuals, the people that own the property, that maintain that property, that pay the taxes on their property, that's theirs, that's their kingdom, that's their area. And as a city, we have to be very careful that we're not trampling or stomping on those people's individual rights and the property they own. You have to balance that. There's a balance there. I understand the city has obligation and the city can do things and the city has rights, but I think as a city, you have to be very careful and err more to, hey, it's my land, it's my property. If I follow the policies and the ordinances of the city, then that's me, and the city ought to be a little more flexible than pushing me or telling me everything I have to do. Thank you.
Well, we want to thank all of the candidates here. You're marvelous. Like I said before, I believe that we can just trade taxes. And the city would be in great shape. But that's not what we're doing tonight. We do have to make a selection. So I'll turn the time over to Candace.
Okay, city council, if you will.
They get their final.
Closing
Oh.
statements.
See. Yes, so if each of you will. Eddie, you ended, so you can go ahead and start again. And you have 2 minutes to close and just what are the final words you want to give the council?
Well, there's a lot of things going on in my head, so I had to write it down so I could get something out that made sense. I want to thank the mayor and the city council and the city for letting us come tonight and giving us all the opportunity to just learn about things, share our ideas, and go through this process. I just want to share, throughout my law enforcement career, I've learned about and taken training on the importance of listening. How important it is to listen to people before you talk to them and tell them what you think or what you do. And through that listening and talking to them, there's that interaction, that positive interaction you need to have. I also know that we have so much diversity in different groups in the community. These groups, they include the youth, the elderly, people from different ethnic backgrounds, people from different economic standards or levels, and people with mental health challenges. And we need to remember that everybody matters, no matter who they are, no matter where they come from or where they fit, doesn't matter. Everybody matters. It's important. The way I look at it, and the way I've done my law enforcement career, is you treat everybody, no matter who they are or what you're talking to them about, with respect and fairness. And you give everybody that benefit of the doubt to say, let's talk. It might not turn out how you want, but that's okay for me. No, that's okay, because I'm going to let you talk, and as long as you're respectable, I'll do the same. I'll do the same to you. And a lot of people, we need to understand, and you guys have probably seen on city council, and I see it in my career, is that when I talk to people, there's a lot of stress involved. There's a lot of emotion involved. And it's important for me to be calm, to keep that steady voice and steady demeanor while talking to them. If I'm selected as a city council member, I believe it's important to be actively already. Wow. All right. Thank you very much, Mayor and Council.
Asked hard questions. Thing that I loved about this was it made me think direction and think that I hadn't. And so that was good. That was really good to get. And their questions were a lot harder than mine. So I feel like I left out. But as far as closing statement, I just want to say that I would give my heart and soul to this position. That I think that a female voice is important. I know Margie's leaving. I just think it's important to have a female voice on the council. I think that someone who can be strong and be motivated is important. I take those boxes off. I would enjoy serving the community. I live here. We just bought our forever home. And like I said, we have the opportunity to leave the community and chose to be, because this is where we want. I knew I would be scatterbrained, so I did the same thing as Eddie. I wrote it down. So thank you for allowing me to be here tonight. Thank you for listening to us, and you really do have a hard decision ahead. 2006, and I love this community, the setting, the people. It's been so fun to be here in Ephraim and be able to learn things from friends that we have here. For the past 2 years, I've regularly attended city council because I care about what's happening and I want to contribute in a meaningful and informed. I have grown to love the process and interactions of democracy. I didn't used to be into government relations at all, and now it's taken over everything I do. I cherish the availability of learning how the government works and how things interact with each other. I want the residents of Ephraim to feel heard and represented, and I believe deeply in the importance of transparency, integrity, and collaboration with your local government. Like I said, our future is apparent. I believe that preserving the values and sense of community that have shaped Ephraim is key to making decisions for our future. This is my home, my friends, my neighbors, and my colleagues. We can all work together to make what we want it to be. Looking to the past to create the future we want is a sure foundation Ephraim City residents will appreciate. And I really do appreciate all of the candidates. I mean, I don't think you can go wrong with any of us. I think it's going to be a very difficult decision for you, and I wish you luck in that. Thank you.
I am so grateful for the opportunity to have been here and to have spoken with such well-qualified and wonderful, smart individuals. And like I touched on in my intro, I am young. I am, but I care about our community. This is where I grew up and I had a wonderful childhood. I love it here and this is where I want to stay. And so my goal is to invest in the future of Ephraim because it's where I want to be always. And that's my goal here. Touching on again, what I mentioned in my intro is being a representative of the youth. With the college here, we have such a young population in Ephraim. And many of the people here have had to move away, whether for school or for other opportunities. And that's not what I want to do. I want to be able to create those opportunities and to be able to create more affordable housing here in the community so that people can stay, so that that young population can remain here and we can be a strong foundation for Ephraim's future. I also want to be a listening ear to the community. Someone with a degree in professional sales, I took an entire class on how to ask questions to better understand needs, and that's something that I will apply every single day with community. As I also mentioned, I really care about affordable housing as someone who's young and wants to stay here. With my industry knowledge of building codes, affordable housing methods, and other interior design and architecture industry things, I will be a liaison and bridge between our community and our developers, be able to create a sustainable future for everyone that works for everyone and preserves the way of life. Thank you so much again for the opportunity.
Thank you very much for this opportunity, and I'm grateful for all who are here. I know all of you, and I have deep love, appreciation. I have a deep love for the people of me. It just weighs in my heart. It is where I grew up. It's my home. I was so grateful for the opportunity to come back and have my family here. Grateful that my students get it, my grandchildren. I want this to be a place where they can be and grow up like I did. That's my deep feelings for youth. I want to do everything I can to serve the community. I don't have an agenda. I'll bring all the resources of experiences in life that I've had to this assignment. And I love to learn. I'll put my effort in to grow and learn so I can answer questions better when I'm asked those questions in public. But the reality is, I am in a new stage of life and I have time. And I can be part of the community, be a voice in the community. I don't want to just hear people talk about what they like or dislike. I want to do what I can to make it better and to help us as we plan to make those decisions going forward. Ephraim is growing. It's not a small town I grew up in, but it is a wonderful place. And if we work together, we can continue to maintain the values, those core values that have created such a wonderful community that's blessed my life. For those who are born in the future, we have to build homes. But it's part of the growth of Ephraim going forward. I think the city council has a responsibility to try to do everything they can to make sure that growth is done in a way where the city can flourish and where the residents can be blessed and enjoy those wonderful experiences that come in a community like this. I am way into Ephraim. I love Ephraim and I love it.
I do appreciate the opportunity to be here. I've gained education, not only from your questions, obviously, but from these folks behind me. Appreciate them and their willing to serve here in the council. Just like President Birch said, Ephraim City is really growing, and it takes a lot to make that happen. With me standing here, I'd like to thank each of you for your time that you put in as well. Not that I'm trying to smooth you, but that's honest and truly the case. I know sitting behind there, you take a lot of licks. And I just want to tell you, thank you very much. Appreciate all you've done in your time, especially those who are getting out in the next while. Town is not what it was when I grew up or was born here 53 years ago. But I have seen good change. I have seen good growth, and I hope that continues. Some of the things that I see in Ephraim that need to happen as well as development happens, as people come in and want to be here. Some things that I see which are important are employment. Sometimes I don't think we have the employment that we need to bring in the money to buy houses, which are extremely high in cost. A lot of people leave Ephraim. And so employment, good businesses are very important. We have a great asset with Snow College. If I could come up with a great idea to employ those college kids, to give them the opportunity to work and spend time after their school hours to start to gain money, I think that there's opportunities here in Ephraim to do that. Just like Mary talked about Logan. Logan has great opportunities up there because it's capitalized on the employment of all those people who are at the university. I appreciate the opportunity. 2 minutes goes quick. Thanks.
All right, city council, if you would, vote for the person that you would like to on your ballot, and then if you will flip it upside down and put it towards the bottom. And once again, Definitely saw that. So just give us a minute to.
Because four is a lot.
Well, luckily for everyone, I will not have to fill their coins. We have one vote for Eddie Christensen and 3 votes for Troy. So 3, members with the majority, so council is a motion to.
Looking for motion, council?
Motion that we appoint Troy Birch for the vacancy on city council.
Second?
Motion made by Councilmember Beal, second by Councilmember Anderson. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
See now we will swear you in so that then people can begin swearing at you.
I usually have a form, but because I didn't know we would see the meeting, I'll have you come and sign it in later. So if you'll stand there and raise your right hand, and when I say state your name, go ahead and state your name. I state your name. Do solemnly swear that I will support, obey, and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Utah, and that I will discharge the duties of my office with fidelity. Sir, you were officially.
City council.
No, I think Troy needs to come up and sit in the chair. He's now a member of the council. I really appreciate it.
Forward to voting for a couple of.
That's it.
We adjourn this city council.
Motion made by Councilmember Northville. Seconded by Councilmember Birch. All in favor?
Yeah.
Return.